Hello, everyone. I'd like to talk about something you already know intimately, even if you've never put a name to it. Have you ever felt that flutter, that swarm of butterflies in your stomach, right before a first date or a big presentation? It's a physical sensation, isn't it? A tangible lightness mixed with a nervous energy that seems to originate deep in your core. You can't command it to stop, and you can't simply think it away. This feeling is a universal part of the human experience. A signal that something important is about to happen. We often dismiss it as just nerves, a simple byproduct of adrenaline. But what if it's more than that? What if your gut is trying to tell you something? Now let's flip that coin. Think about a time you received difficult news or felt a deep, gnawing worry about a loved one. Where did you feel that? Many of you will point to the same place, your stomach. It's that gut-wrenching feeling, that heavy, dense knot that seems to tighten with every anxious thought. It can steal your appetite and make you feel physically ill. This sensation is just as real, just as physical as the butterflies, but it's on the opposite end of the emotional spectrum. It's not just a fleeting thought of sadness. It's an embodied experience of distress. How is it that our deepest emotions, both the joyful and the painful, seem to have a physical home right in the center of our bodies? Let's consider a third scenario, one that's less about emotion and more about intuition. Have you ever had to make a big decision, and while logic pointed one way, you had a powerful gut feeling pushing you in another direction? Maybe it was about trusting a new person, accepting a job offer, or making a sudden change of plans. There was no spreadsheet or list of pros and cons that could explain it, but you just knew in your core what the right choice was. We often call this instinct or a hunch, but the language we use is telling. We don't say we have a brain feeling. We say we feel it in our gut. Where does this profound, unexplainable certainty come from? For centuries, we've used these expressions, butterflies in the stomach, a gut-wrenching feeling, a gut instinct, as colorful metaphors to describe our internal states. We see them as figures of speech, poetic ways to talk about anxiety, stress, or intuition. But I'm here today to ask a simple yet profound question. What if these are not just metaphors at all? What if they are literal descriptions of a biological reality we are only just beginning to fully understand? What if your body is using these sensations to send you crucial messages from a place you might not expect? It's time we started listening to this language not as poetry but as important physiological information about our well-being. This might sound a little strange at first, but I want you to follow me on this. Your digestive system is far more than just a long tube designed to process the food you eat. It's not simply a passive plumbing system for calories and waste. Buried within the walls of your gut is an incredibly complex and intelligent network of neurons, neurotransmitters, and proteins. This network is so vast and functions with such remarkable independence that scientists have given it a nickname, the second brain. It's a name that perfectly captures its power. This system, located deep within your abdomen, is a command center that influences far more than just whether you're hungry or full. It's an active, thinking, and feeling entity. Let's talk about the sheer complexity of this second brain for a moment, without getting too technical. The network of neurons in your gut is more extensive than the network in your spinal cord or your entire peripheral nervous system. It contains hundreds of millions of neurons, a number that rivals the amount found in the brain of a cat. This brain in your gut can operate independently, learning, remembering, and producing feelings all on its own. It controls the intricate dance of digestion, but its job doesn't stop there. It's also in a constant dynamic conversation with the brain in your head, a conversation that profoundly shapes your daily life, your mood, and your perception of the world in ways we are just now beginning to appreciate. But this second brain is not alone. It governs a vast, bustling, and vibrant inner world. Imagine a thriving, hidden ecosystem living inside of you, a complex community teeming with life. This is your gut microbiome. It's composed of trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other microbes that reside in your digestive tract. There are more of these microbial cells in your body than there are human cells. This isn't an invasion. It's a symbiotic relationship that has evolved over millions of years. Think of it less like a collection of germs and more like a lush internal garden that you are responsible for tending. The health and diversity of this garden are directly linked to your own health. The scale of this inner world is truly mind-boggling and helps us understand its importance. The combined weight of your gut microbiome is about the same as your brain, roughly 3 pounds. If you were to take all the unique genes in this microbial community and compare them to your own human genome, you'd find they outnumber your genes by more than 100 to 1. This means that, from a genetic standpoint, we are more microbe than human. This teeming ecosystem is a fundamental part of who you are. It's not just a passive passenger along for the ride. It's an active participant in your biology, a living organ with immense power to influence your physical and mental state every single day. So here we have these two incredible concepts, a powerful second brain operating in your gut, and a vast microbial garden living within it. The groundbreaking discovery we're here to discuss today is how these two elements work together. Your microbiome is in constant communication with your gut's nervous system, and together they are in a perpetual dialogue with the brain in your head. This conversation happens along a superhighway of information called the vagus nerve. It's a two-way street. We've always known that stress from your brain can upset your stomach. But the truly fascinating part is realizing the communication going the other way is even more powerful and influential. This is where we begin to see the problem. When this intricate communication system is disrupted, the consequences are not just digestive. When the delicate balance of your inner garden is thrown off, when the weeds start to outnumber the beneficial plants, the messages sent to your brain can become garbled, stressed, or inflammatory. This can manifest as feelings you might not connect to your gut at all. Persistent anxiety, a low mood that you can't seem to shake, brain fog, or difficulty concentrating. You might think it's all in your head, a personal failing, or a sign of weakness. But what if it's a biological signal, a cry for help from your second brain, telling you that your inner ecosystem is in distress? This state of imbalance in your gut, this internal distress, has a scientific name, dysbiosis. But let's stick with our garden analogy, as it's much more intuitive. Dysbiosis is simply what happens when the weeds in your garden begin to outgrow the beneficial flowers and plants. These opportunistic weeds, certain types of bacteria or yeast, don't just take up space. They actively change the environment. They can thrive on things like sugar and processed foods, and as they multiply, they crowd out the good microbes that are essential for your health. This isn't just a passive shift. It's an active takeover of your internal ecosystem, one that starts a cascade of negative effects that ripple throughout your entire body, beginning with the messages sent to your brain. When these weedy microbes dominate, the chemical conversations between your gut and your brain change dramatically. Your beneficial microbes, your flowers, are responsible for producing amazing compounds, including neurotransmitters like serotonin and GABA, which help keep you calm, happy, and focused. But the weeds produce different kinds of chemicals. They can create inflammatory substances and even compounds that mimic our own stress hormones. Suddenly, the information traveling up that superhighway, the vagus nerve, is no longer calm and reassuring. Instead, it's filled with static, alarm bells, and signals of distress. Your brain interprets this constant stream of negative information as a real threat, keeping you in a state of high alert, which you experience as persistent anxiety or a nagging feeling that something is wrong. This disruption can also compromise the very structure of your gut. Imagine the lining of your intestines is like a tightly woven fence that keeps your garden contained and protected. It has microscopic gateways that are supposed to open just enough to let nutrients pass through into your bloodstream. But when dysbiosis and inflammation take hold, this fence can become damaged. The tight junctions between the cells can loosen, creating larger gaps. This condition is often referred to as increased intestinal permeability, or leaky gut. It means that things that should stay safely inside your digestive system, like undigested food particles, toxins, and microbial fragments, can leak out into your bloodstream where they absolutely do not belong, triggering a system-wide immune response. Once these foreign particles escape the gut, your immune system correctly identifies them as invaders and launches an attack. This creates a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation throughout your body. It's like having a silent internal alarm that is always on. This systemic inflammation is a major driver of many modern chronic diseases. It can manifest in ways that seem completely unrelated to your digestion. You might experience joint pain, skin problems like eczema or acne, or debilitating fatigue. And importantly, this inflammation can also cross the blood-brain barrier, directly impacting your brain function. This is a key mechanism by which a problem in your gut can physically create inflammation in your brain, contributing directly to brain fog and mood disorders. The problem is that we often fail to connect these dots. We treat the symptoms in isolation. We might see a dermatologist for our skin, a psychiatrist for our anxiety, and a rheumatologist for our joint pain, without ever considering that these disparate issues could all be rooted in the same underlying problem, the health of our inner garden. We are essentially trying to patch up different parts of a house that has a faulty foundation. Until we address the health of the gut microbiome, the foundation of our well-being, we may find ourselves in a frustrating cycle of managing symptoms without ever getting to the core of what is making us feel unwell. The first step toward healing is recognizing that these signals are not random. They are messages from a distressed second brain. Let's look at some numbers that really highlight the power of this connection. It's a truly staggering fact that up to 95% of your body's serotonin, the key neurotransmitter responsible for feelings of happiness and well-being, is not produced in your brain. It's manufactured in your gut by your resident microbes. Think about that for a moment. The molecule most associated with your mood is almost entirely dependent on the health and happiness of the trillions of bacteria living inside you. When your microbial garden is out of balance, your capacity to produce this vital feel-good chemical is severely compromised. This provides a clear biological explanation for why a troubled gut so often leads to a troubled mind. It's not a psychological failing, it's a production problem. The data connecting digestive issues with mental health is overwhelming. For instance, individuals diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, a condition fundamentally linked to gut dysbiosis and a dysfunctional gut-brain axis, have an incredibly high rate of co-occurring anxiety and depression. Some studies show that more than 50% of IBS patients also meet the criteria for a major anxiety or depressive disorder. This isn't a coincidence. For years, we thought the stress of anxiety caused the gut symptoms, and while that can be true, we now understand it's a two-way street. A distressed gut is fully capable of initiating and perpetuating the feelings of anxiety and low mood, creating a vicious cycle that can be difficult to escape. Furthermore, consider the dramatic shifts in our modern lifestyles and diets. Over the last century, our consumption of dietary fiber, the primary food for our beneficial gut microbes, has plummeted. Our ancestors consumed upwards of 100 grams of fiber a day from a wide variety of plant sources. Today, the average person in a Western country is lucky to get 15 grams per day. We are, in effect, starving the very microbes that are programmed to keep us healthy and happy. At the same time, our consumption of processed foods, sugar, and artificial additives has skyrocketed. We are simultaneously starving our microbial allies while feeding their enemies, creating the perfect storm for widespread dysbiosis and the health problems that follow. The implications for our immune system are just as profound. Did you know that approximately 70% of your immune system is located in your gut? It's housed in specialized tissue that runs along your intestinal tract. This proximity is no accident. Your gut is a primary interface between you and the outside world, and your immune system is there to stand guard, learning to differentiate between friend, food and good microbes, and foe, pathogens. When your microbiome is healthy and diverse, it trains your immune system to be balanced and tolerant. But when your gut is in a state of dysbiosis, your immune system can become confused and overreactive, leading to everything from allergies to autoimmune conditions. This all points to a critical truth. The health of your gut is not a niche concern for people with stomach aches. It is arguably one of the most important foundations of your overall physical and mental health. The statistics don't just tell a story about digestion. They tell a story about modern chronic illness. The rising rates of depression, anxiety, autoimmune diseases, and allergies in the industrialized world run parallel to the degradation of our collective gut microbiome. Ignoring the health of this internal ecosystem is not just an oversight. It's a significant risk factor for a host of conditions we mistakenly believe are separate from what's happening in our core. So if we let this garden become overgrown with weeds, what are the real, tangible risks we face? In the short term, the risks manifest as a significant decline in your quality of life. We're talking about persistent bloating that makes you uncomfortable in your own clothes, unpredictable digestion that makes you anxious about leaving the house, and brain fog that makes it hard to perform at work or be present with your family. It's the risk of living a life that feels muted, where your energy is constantly drained and your mood is perpetually low. It's the risk of feeling like you're operating at 50% capacity, never quite feeling like your true, vibrant self, because of this invisible internal battle. Looking at the longer term, the risks become even more serious. As we discussed, chronic inflammation originating from a leaky, unbalanced gut is now understood to be a key driver of many of the most feared diseases of our time. This includes an increased risk for developing metabolic issues like type 2 diabetes and obesity, as the gut microbiome plays a crucial role in regulating blood sugar and fat storage. It also includes a higher risk of cardiovascular disease, as the inflammatory signals from the gut can contribute to the plaque buildup in our arteries. We are risking far more than just a stomachache. We are risking the health of our most vital organs. Perhaps one of the most concerning long-term risks being actively investigated is the link between gut health and neurodegenerative diseases, like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Emerging research is showing a strong connection between an unhealthy microbiome and the development of these conditions later in life. Scientists are discovering that the inflammatory molecules and microbial byproducts produced by a dysbiotic gut can travel to the brain and contribute to the inflammation and plaque formation that are the hallmarks of these devastating diseases. While this research is still evolving, it suggests that tending to our inner garden today could be one of the most important things we do to protect our brain health for decades to come. There is also the significant risk to our immune function. A gut in a state of dysbiosis sends confusing signals to the immune system. This can cause it to become overactive and begin mistakenly attacking the body's own tissues, which is the definition of an autoimmune disease. Conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis, and Hashimoto's thyroiditis are all being increasingly linked to the health of the gut microbiome. By allowing our internal ecosystem to fall into disrepair, we risk awakening a sleeping giant, a confused and aggressive immune system that can cause lifelong, systemic health problems. Nurturing your gut is a fundamental step in promoting a balanced and intelligent immune response. Finally, the most immediate and personal risk is the erosion of your mental and emotional resilience. When your gut-brain axis is constantly sending signals of stress and inflammation, your baseline for anxiety is set higher. You become more reactive to stressors that you might have otherwise handled with ease. Your emotional reserves are depleted, making you more susceptible to depression and mood swings. You risk losing your sense of optimism and joy, not because of your circumstances, but because of your biology. The risk is becoming a passenger in your own emotional life, tossed around by biological currents you don't understand, when you should be the captain of your ship. So, what are the specific warning signs? What are the symptoms your body might be sending you, the whispers from your second brain that something is amiss? The most obvious, of course, are digestive. These are the classic signs like chronic bloating, excessive gas, abdominal pain or cramping, constipation, diarrhea, or an alternation between the two. These symptoms are not normal. They are not something you just have to live with. They are the most direct signal your gut can send that its ecosystem is struggling, that the intricate dance of digestion is being disrupted, and that it needs your help and attention. But the symptoms often extend far beyond your abdomen. Let's talk about your skin. The skin is often a mirror of what is happening inside your gut. This is called the gut-skin axis. Chronic skin conditions like acne, rosacea, eczema, and psoriasis are frequently linked to inflammation and dysbiosis originating in the gut. If you have been battling a persistent skin issue with topical creams and treatments without success, it may be because the root of the problem isn't on the surface. It could be a manifestation of that internal inflammation, a cry for help from your struggling microbiome that is showing up on your face or body. Another major symptom is persistent, unexplained fatigue. This isn't just feeling tired after a long day. This is a deep, bone-weary exhaustion that a good night's sleep doesn't seem to fix. Your gut microbiome is deeply involved in energy production, not just through the digestion of food, but also through the synthesis of B vitamins and the regulation of inflammation. When your gut is unhealthy, your ability to extract and use energy from your food is impaired. Furthermore, the chronic immune activation and inflammation caused by dysbiosis is incredibly draining on your body's resources, leaving you feeling chronically depleted and exhausted for no apparent reason. Pay attention to your brain and your mood. Are you experiencing brain fog, where it feels like you're thinking through a thick cloud? Do you have trouble concentrating or remembering things? Do you experience frequent mood swings or a baseline of anxiety or depression that you can't tie to any specific life event? As we've discussed, these are hallmark symptoms of a dysfunctional gut-brain axis. When the communication is filled with inflammatory signals and there's a shortage of feel-good neurotransmitters like serotonin, your cognitive function and emotional stability are directly impacted. These mental symptoms are not just in your head, they are often rooted in your gut. Finally, consider your cravings and your sleep. Do you have intense, uncontrollable cravings for sugar or refined carbohydrates? This often isn't a lack of willpower. The weedy microbes in your gut, like certain yeasts and bacteria, literally feed on sugar. When they are dominant, they can send powerful chemical signals to your brain that drive you to consume more of the very foods they need to thrive, perpetuating the cycle of dysbiosis. Similarly, poor sleep can be a symptom. The gut produces melatonin and other compounds that regulate sleep, and a disrupted microbiome can lead to difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, further stressing your system. Now, let's explore the causes. What are the common culprits in our modern lives that are damaging this precious internal garden? The single biggest factor for most people is the modern Western diet. This diet is typically high in ultra-processed foods, refined sugars, and unhealthy fats, while being critically low in fiber. This is the exact opposite of what your beneficial microbes need to thrive. Sugar and processed flours act like fertilizer for the weeds, like yeast and pathogenic bacteria, allowing them to multiply rapidly. At the same time, the lack of fiber starves the beneficial bacteria that are essential for producing anti-inflammatory compounds and keeping your gut lining strong. This lack of dietary fiber is a critical problem that deserves its own focus. Fiber, which is found in plants like vegetables, fruits, legumes, and whole grains, isn't just roughage that passes through you. It is the primary food source, the preferred meal, for your most important microbial allies. When these good bacteria feast on fiber, they produce amazing substances called short-chain fatty acids, like butyrate. Butyrate is a superstar molecule. It's the main fuel source for the cells that line your colon, keeping that fence strong and healthy. It's also powerfully anti-inflammatory. When we don't eat enough fiber, we starve these crucial microbe populations, and our production of these protective compounds plummets. Another major cause of gut dysbiosis is chronic stress. This isn't just a feeling, it's a physiological event. When you are under constant stress, your body produces hormones like cortisol. These stress hormones are designed for short-term, fight-or-flight situations. They divert blood flow away from your digestive system, slow down gut motility, and can change the pH and environment of your gut. This altered environment can be less hospitable to your good bacteria and more welcoming to the opportunistic weeds. So, a stressful job, a difficult relationship, or even just the constant low-grade stress of modern life can directly and negatively alter the composition of your microbiome. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. As we've seen, a stressed brain can harm the gut. But then, the newly imbalanced gut, now full of weeds, begins sending inflammatory and stressful signals back up to the brain. The brain interprets this as more stress, and it releases more cortisol, which further harms the gut. You can get trapped in a vicious cycle where your brain and your gut are perpetually making each other more stressed and inflamed. This is why it can feel so impossible to think your way out of anxiety when your biology is stuck in this loop. Breaking the cycle requires addressing both your mental state and your gut health. The overuse of antibiotics is another significant contributor. While antibiotics are life-saving medicines that are absolutely necessary in many situations, we have to understand their collateral damage. A course of broad-spectrum antibiotics is like dropping a bomb on your internal garden. It doesn't just kill the bad bacteria causing your infection. It wipes out huge populations of your beneficial microbes as well. It can take months, or even years for the ecosystem to recover, and sometimes it never fully returns to its previous state of diversity. This leaves the garden vulnerable, creating an opportunity for hardier weeds to take over the empty real estate before the flowers can regrow. Poor or insufficient sleep is another modern culprit. Just like you, your microbiome has a daily rhythm, a circadian cycle. Certain microbes are more active during the day, while others do their work at night. When you have an erratic sleep schedule, work night shifts, or simply don't get enough restorative sleep, you disrupt this microbial clock. This desynchronization can throw the entire ecosystem into chaos, promoting the growth of inflammatory bacteria and impairing the function of your beneficial microbes. A good night's sleep isn't just for your brain. It's a critical time for your second brain and its residents to rest and repair. We also need to consider our increasingly sanitized environment. While hygiene is important, our obsession with killing 99.9% of germs has had an unintended consequence. We are less exposed to the diverse range of microbes from the natural world, from soil, from animals, from less processed foods that our ancestors encountered daily. This lack of exposure can lead to a less diverse and less resilient inner garden. A microbiome with low diversity is like a monoculture farm. It's much more susceptible to being wiped out by a single pest or stressor. A diverse, rich ecosystem, on the other hand, is robust, resilient, and better able to withstand challenges. Environmental toxins and certain food additives can also play a role in harming our gut microbes. Things like pesticides on our produce, artificial sweeteners in our drinks, and emulsifiers in processed foods have all been shown in studies to negatively impact the balance and diversity of the microbiome. While the effect of any single exposure might be small, the cumulative burden of these compounds over a lifetime can contribute to the slow erosion of our microbial health. We are unknowingly consuming substances that can act as subtle poisons to the very ecosystem we depend on for our physical and mental well-being. Finally, a lack of regular, gentle movement can impact gut health. Exercise isn't just good for your muscles and heart, it's good for your gut too. Physical activity helps to stimulate gut motility, which is the muscular contractions that move food through your digestive system. This helps prevent constipation and keeps things from stagnating, which can create an environment where unhealthy bacteria can thrive. Furthermore, studies have shown that active people tend to have a more diverse and robust microbiome compared to sedentary individuals. Gentle movement is another way to send a signal of health and vitality to your second brain. When you put all these factors together, a poor diet, chronic stress, antibiotics, lack of sleep, and environmental exposures, you can see how easy it is for our modern lifestyle to wage a war against our own microbiome. We have created a world that is almost perfectly designed to disrupt this ancient symbiotic relationship. The widespread increase in both digestive and mental health disorders is not a mystery. It is, in many ways, the predictable outcome of this fundamental mismatch between our modern lives and our biological needs. The first step to reclaiming our health is to understand these causes and recognize their power. After hearing all of this, it would be easy to feel overwhelmed, as if you're fighting a silent, invisible war inside your own body. But I want to shift our focus now, because this is where the story becomes incredibly hopeful. This is where you reclaim your power. The most beautiful part of this entire discovery is realizing that you are the primary caretaker of this internal garden. You are the gardener. You have the ability, every single day, with every choice you make, to pull the weeds, plant new flowers, and fertilize the soil. You are not a passive victim of your biology. You are its active and most important steward. Healing isn't about some complex medical procedure. It begins with the simple, profound act of tending to your own inner world. So how do we begin? We start by giving our microbial allies the food they love. The most powerful tool at your disposal is your fork. Your beneficial gut microbes are ravenous for one thing above all else: fiber. Think of fiber as the gourmet superfood for your internal champions. You can find it abundantly in a wide variety of plant foods: vibrant vegetables, sweet fruits, hearty legumes like beans and lentils, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. The key here is diversity. Try to eat the rainbow. Each different plant provides unique types of fiber that feed different families of beneficial bacteria, creating a rich, resilient, and thriving ecosystem. This isn't about dieting or restriction. It's about joyfully adding in a kaleidoscope of nourishing whole foods. To take your gardening to the next level, you can introduce two key concepts: probiotics and prebiotics. Think of it this way. Probiotics are like adding new, healthy seeds and plants to your garden, while prebiotics are the specialized fertilizer that helps them grow strong. Probiotics are the live beneficial bacteria found in fermented foods like yogurt with live active cultures, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, and kombucha. They directly introduce new allies into your gut community. Prebiotics are the types of fiber that specifically feed these good microbes, found in foods like garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, and slightly unripe bananas. By combining probiotic-rich foods with a diet full of prebiotic fiber, you are actively seeding and feeding your path to better health. Just as important as adding the good stuff is reducing the things that feed the weeds. This is the weeding part of our gardening work. The primary culprits that fuel the growth of unhelpful inflammatory microbes are ultra-processed foods, refined sugar, and many artificial additives. These substances act like a fast food feast for the weeds in your gut, like certain types of yeast and pathogenic bacteria, allowing them to multiply and crowd out your beneficial microbes. You don't need to be perfect, but consciously shifting your diet away from sugary drinks, packaged snacks, and refined carbohydrates starves the troublemakers and gives your beneficial flora the space they need to flourish. It's about changing the environment from one that favors the weeds to one that favors the flowers. Beyond your plate, your lifestyle choices play a monumental role in the health of your second brain. Chronic stress, as we've seen, can be devastating to your microbiome. This is why stress management is not a luxury. It's a non-negotiable part of gut health. Simple practices like a few minutes of deep belly breathing, a short daily meditation, a walk in nature, or even just listening to calming music can help break that vicious gut-brain stress cycle. At the same time, prioritize sleep. Your gut and its microbes have their own circadian rhythm. Getting 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep each night is like providing a critical rest and repair shift for your internal ecosystem, allowing it to regenerate and function optimally. We also cannot forget the simple power of movement and hydration. Gentle, consistent exercise does more than just benefit your muscles and heart. It's a wonderful tonic for your gut. Activities like walking, yoga, or cycling help stimulate gut motility, the rhythmic contractions that keep food moving through your system. This prevents stagnation and helps create an environment less hospitable to unhealthy bacteria. Studies consistently show that active people have a more diverse and robust microbiome. And of course, drink plenty of water. Water is essential for helping fiber do its job, for maintaining a healthy gut lining, and for supporting every single digestive process. It is the simple, foundational fluid of life for you and your microbes. I know this can sound like a lot of changes, but you don't have to do everything at once. The journey to a healthier gut begins with a single choice. It begins with the next bite of food you take. I want you to start thinking of every meal as an opportunity, as a direct communication with your second brain. With each forkful, you are sending a message. Is it a message of nourishment that will help your allies build a foundation of calm and well-being? Or is it a message of stress that will fuel inflammation and anxiety? When you see it this way, choosing a side of steamed broccoli or a handful of berries isn't a sacrifice. It's a powerful vote for your own happiness. This shift in perspective redefines what self-care truly means. It's not just about bubble baths and face masks. True, profound self-care is the daily, conscious act of tending to your internal garden. It is the understanding that by nourishing the trillions of organisms within you, you are directly cultivating your own mental and emotional resilience. You are literally building a healthier brain from the inside out. Taking care of your gut is not another chore on your to-do list. It is one of the most direct and impactful acts of self-love you can perform. You are laying the biological groundwork for more joy, more clarity, and more vitality in every aspect of your life. Think back to the feelings we started with, the butterflies of excitement, the gut-wrenching worry, the deep intuitive hunches. These sensations are no longer mysterious forces. You can now understand them as the language of your gut-brain axis, a constant conversation about your inner state. And the most wonderful news is that you are not just a passive listener in this conversation. You are an active participant. You have the power to change the tone from one of distress and static to one of harmony and health. Your body has an incredible innate capacity to heal. You simply need to provide it with the right conditions, and it will do the rest. So the next time you feel that flutter in your stomach or that knot of anxiety, I want you to pause and listen differently. Don't dismiss it. Don't fear it. Recognize it for what it is, a message. It is your second brain trying to communicate with you. But now you know how to respond. you know how to send a message of care back down. You can choose to nourish, to soothe, to move, to rest. Taking care of your gut is taking care of your mind. It is the foundation of your well-being, the root of your health. This is the most important, life-changing conversation you will ever have. Start listening today.